Well, hey everyone. In today's episode, I'm going to teach you about the power of zero. I first learned of this strategy, or it's actually a mindset shift, very early on when I started my business in late 2001. Now, if you're familiar with my backstory, I had been unemployed for about a year previous to that, and in the summer of 2001, I was first diagnosed with cancer. And so in October of '01, when I decided to kind of get control of my life and start my business, I guess it's fair to say that my confidence and, my goals were not huge. I was just happy to finally start my business and get going. Now, I was very blessed to meet a gentleman, an older gentleman, very successful entrepreneur, has started and grown at least 3 companies that I'm aware of, and he kind of took me under his wing, and he was, I guess you would call him my first mentor and coach. And so we were meeting one day, and he said, "So Palmer, what's your dream? What's your vision?" And I said, it's very simple. I'm just so happy to kind of start my business and get going. He said, "You know what, John, if I could just generate $50,000 in revenue, I would be happy." And he kind of looked at me with this look. It was kind of a combination of surprise, shock, and actually anger in his eyes. And he said, "What the hell? 50,000, dude, 150,000. What's wrong with $500,000? He said, "Jim, could you live on $500,000 a year?" And I said, "Yes, I could." And he said, "Well, good. You need to think bigger." And he challenged me to kind of tear down the walls and kick down the door. You see, here's what happens. I pretty much knew in order to generate $50,000, I knew how many networking events I'd need to go to, how many people I would need to meet, how many letters I might have to mail. In other words, it was a pretty attainable. I knew the steps to do that. But to make 150 or $500,000, that was something completely different. And I then had to ask myself, once I grasped the logic and the theory that I wanted a much bigger thing, I needed to ask myself different questions, starting with, okay, what do I need to do to make $500,000? And suddenly, over the days, weeks, and months, it became very clear, just mailing a few letters, shaking hands, going to networking events, chambers of commerce, things like that, that wasn't going to do it. I had to think on a much larger scale. And actually, one of the things that propelled me forward was meeting a few people that were actually just came into my life, and I started developing this concept of, instead of selling just one newsletter to one customer, I would create these newsletter templates and sell them to hundreds of people around the country. And that soon became my second product, which was No Hassle Newsletter. So that all started with me kicking down the door and opening up this bigger vision. I'll tell you one more quick story. About a year ago, after I had launched Success Advantage, which is my content and newsletter template program, another gentleman that I just highly respect and admire said, "Where are you now?" I think at the time I was at about 40 to 50 subscribers. He said, "Where do you want to be?" I said, "I want to quickly get to 100. He said, 100? What's wrong with 1,000? And once again, my mind was challenged to think differently. How am I going to get to 1,000? And that's when I launched Success Advantage 2.0, where I added multiple newsletter templates. I added color and black and white. I gave more content. I gave an easing template. I started adding more and more value and benefits to the program, and I blasted past 100 subscribers. And because of that question, go from 100 to 1,000, that was when I nicknamed it the power of zero. It's the power of thinking big. So I want to challenge you, whatever your goal is, whatever you want to do. If you want to get 5 new clients this week, forget that. Go for 50. If you want to, it works, by the way, in savings also. Let's say you want to save 2 or 3% on your expenses. Don't do that. Save 30%. And guess what? If you fall short and only meet your goal by 50% and you save 15%, you're much farther along than if you made 100% of your original goal, which was to save 3%. Conversely, let's say you want to add 10 new clients this month, forget that. Go for 100. If you fall short and only hit 50% and you add 50, you're much farther along than if you hit 100% of your goal to add 10. So whatever your goal is, I want you to add a zero to it, and then start asking yourself the questions. Kick down the walls, throw down the door, and start asking yourself, what do I got to do to meet this new, bigger goal? And you'll be surprised. Your mind will start feeding you the answers. You're going to start meeting people, and you're just becoming aware of the different ways in which you can grow at a much more rapid rate and to much higher levels of success. So this is Jim Palmer, the Newsletter Guru, challenging you. Add a zero. I'll see you on the next episode. By the way, I'm loving your comments and suggestions. I read every single one of them. Keep them coming, and we'll keep doing more episodes like this. Take care, everybody.